Mindfulness. We didn't get to really go into this last week, but mindfulness is another tricky one because it doesn't sound like anything. What's wrong with mindfulness? Why shouldn't you be mindful? What are people talking about when they talk of mindfulness? So this is an article from the BBC, which just came up to me a couple of weeks ago. And it's so funny. It was before this study. And then as I started to do this study, I thought, wow, how relevant is that? So stress, anxiety, productivity, mindfulness is often touted as a solution to nearly everything. But research shows that you can actually take meditation too far. So already, mindfulness and meditation, what are you meditating on? Is this talking about scriptures? For around 20 years, I've struggled with periods of anxiety and turned to mindfulness meditation as a means of quelling those feelings. At its best, the benefits would often perfectly match the hype. Focusing my attention on my breath or my body would calm my nagging internal voice, and I'd return to normal life feeling energized and invigorated. This is how the enemy works. He will give you a temporary benefit to make you believe his lie. Far often, however, I'd end the session feeling much worse than I began. Rather than relaxing, my heart would begin to accelerate. My inner monologue would take a nasty turn as unpleasant memories and feelings of failure and hopelessness flooded my mind. These events became so frequent that I now only use mindfulness occasionally. I had assumed that I was just uniquely bad at taming my thoughts, yet a growing body of research suggests that such stories may be surprisingly common, with one study from 2019 showing that at least 25% of regular meditators have experienced adverse events, from panic attacks and depression to an unsettling sense of disassociation. Given these reports, one researcher has even founded a non-profit organization, Cheetah House, that offers support to meditators in distress. What a thing. We had more than 20,000 people contact us in 2020, says Willoughby Britton, who is an assistant professor in psychiatry and human behavior at Brown University. This is a big problem. How could something that apparently so beneficial for so many people turn out to have such disturbing effects for others? And there are many ways to gain the benefits of meditation and are there many ways of to gain the benefits of meditation without running into these risks? So I'm just going to fast forward to some of these quotes. We had an overwhelming number of people contacting the lab saying, I can't feel anything. I don't feel any love for my family. What do I do? And here it talks about some of the effects on the brain. I ain't going to go into that because we've got other stuff to do. Studies have shown that meditation can increase activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, for instance, which in turn regulates the limbic system and the amygdala, another region where emotional salience is processed. In the right amount, prefrontal control over the limbic system can result in better focus and less emotional activity, says Britton. But when that's taken beyond optimal levels, it can blunt all emotions, both negative and positive, so that they no longer feel extreme joy or happiness. In extreme cases, this can result in an unsettling sense of disassociation from their life, which affected around 8% of meditators in a Portuguese study. Let me stop there. I want to answer your question. If you become, as this study says, if you become blunt in all your emotions, what does that make you a prey to? If you just become a being that just has no emotion?
Well, then you're dead, aren't you? Because
but you're living, right?
But a human being, that's the difference between us and animals, surely. Well, maybe
right.
Animals have some kind of emotion, but we have complex emotions, don't we? So exactly. That's what makes us, if we think and feel and do, and that's how God operates through us, through emotion, isn't it? To as well as, well, we know it's through the Spirit, but also our emotion moves us as well to have compassion on people.
Right. You said something key about animals, right? Animals move on what? Just their natural impulse or their corrupt instinct. Because remember, when the fall happened, not only human beings got corrupted, all nature got corrupted, right? So if we become like animals and we just move on impulse and instinct, then have we not just become the carnal natured beings that Satan is trying to make us anyway?
Yeah.
And then we become almost a puppet to do his bidding. Because if you are an emotional being, then You are just literally a gateway to a satanic force to fill you up and to use you. And then
Well,
you can kill, you can slaughter, you can maim, you can do anything and not feel a thing.
So we just become an empty vessel. That's it, isn't it? An empty
There you
vessel
go.
An empty vessel that can be used in whatever way. Because remember, when you know, as a demon comes out of someone, then they're
looking
empty,
for what?
and ready for another 77 to come in there. Whatever it is.
Spirits are disembodied people looking to inhabit something. So what we are with this mindfulness and this Eastern religion new thought takeover, we are creating nations and nations of bodies for Satan to inhabit. Right. We're creating an army.
Programming them, isn't he?
Right.
Yeah.
Sister Sabrina raised her hand. Sorry, go ahead, Sister Catherine, and then Sister Sabrina.
No, I was just saying we're being prepared to be constantly programmed, or the human race is being prepared to be programmed, and that's what all these different bits of music and different stuff online is doing, is creating a being that literally is just walking around being programmed, and no independent thought, an inability to critically think.
Right.
Imagine going to university and you can't think critically, because that's almost where we are.
Yeah, you like, as you said, he's creating empty vessels, and these empty vessels will be used by him and his angels to wage war on the people of God. But if you read Revelation, then you understand now, okay, this is part of the plan for the end times. Sister Sabrina.
I was just going to say we'll continue because it's already been covered.
Okay.
It's already been discussed.
So besides these more extreme reactions, Britain has showed that overzealous meditation can even damage sleep. Among people undergoing 8-week mindfulness course, those who meditate for more than 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, tended to have worse sleep quality than those who spend less time in mindful contemplation. The Bible said that we are supposed to set our affections on things above, that we are supposed to think of things that are good and the things that are lovely. We're supposed to think of things concerning Christ and his kingdom, not this world, not trying to get inside of ourselves. Similar to attention-enhancing drugs like coffee and Ritalin and cocaine, meditation can increase focus and alertness, says Britain. But when taken too far, that can lead to anxiety, panic, and insomnia, because there is both neuromatical and neurochemical overlap between attention and arousal systems in the brain. You can only crank up your attentional dial so far before you start feeling anxious or stop sleeping. Sister Sabrina, you studied some of this kind of stuff. You have anything to say about this?
It's quite interesting, actually. As I mentioned, that things were covered. There is a lot of emptying. I'll be quite transparent. At my workplace, they were offering like a mindfulness session to some of the colleagues, and I thought, okay, let me see what this is all about.
What it's about, yeah.
And the thing is, the danger with mindfulness is, as Christians, we can find a lot of similarities. There were parts of the session. This, I must admit, it was a bit different from some of the other ones, but it was more of almost like a CBD, like a cognitive behavioral therapy mixed with mindfulness. But there were just some elements where, like you said, there's a danger of emptying of yourself. Okay, what fills the void? And then when they came to certain things, I was like, no, I'm done. I'm not taking part of it. And it was all voluntary anyway. But there is that danger of you just emptying yourself, where your mind, it needs to process things in a particular way. You need sleep for a reason. It allows you to process your thoughts and to deal with it. It allows your brain to recover. And so if you're emptying of yourself, you're messing up with what God has actually ordained, or what he's arranged for us as human beings to be able to do.
Exactly. Satan is seeking to rewire humanity again. I mean, he did it in the garden, right? And we know that God made provision for us to overcome that. But now, because we're dealing with the context of the spirit of wellness in the church, okay, so you know, I got humanity via, you know, the garden. As I see Sister Cheryl come to you. How can I get the church into this now? How can I start rewiring some Holy Spirit filled people's mind? Because really and truly, it's like this. What I realized early on in my Christianity, right, is that if I am feeling low and I resort to shopping, if I'm feeling low and I resort to eating, if I'm feeling low and I resort to someone else's company, before I resort to God, then I am dishonoring God. I am saying that actually God can't fill the void. And it sounds very simple, but we all do it. We're not feeling well, and so we go and stuff ourselves. We're not feeling well, and maybe we could drink some alcohol. We're not feeling well. Anytime we are dealing with our emotions and our inability to handle what we are going through, and we do not seek the kingdom and its righteousness, and his righteousness, anytime we don't seek God first, we have now made whatever we go to an idol. So why, the thing is, a lot of stuff is not a sin, right? It's the why we do it that makes it a sin. So technically, drinking alcohol is not a sin, but if you're drinking alcohol to alter your mind state, it now becomes a sin. And we know drunkenness is a sin anyway, but you see what I'm saying? Everything isn't a sin, but the why you do it makes it a sin. Sister Cheryl.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something that you guys were talking about. So, like, with all this mindfulness and yoga and all this stuff that's now become the thing, and I air quote that. My rule of thumb is always check the source.
Yes.
Always check the root of where it's coming from. In Sanskrit, we know that yoga means to yoke one's spirit with a god, air quote, not our God. Right? They're opening you up. I remember being in secondary school. It was in a drama class. And obviously back then, you didn't really know much about meditation or the stuff that was kept within religion. And I remember the drama teacher wanted to do this exercise to have us relax and get in the zone and so forth. So it was a thing where you had to label parts of your body from 1 to 10, from foot to head. And as he went through the numbers, he was telling you relax and do your mind, so forth and so forth. I remember turning, when he got to about 9, which was the neck, I remember turning to my friend. My friend turned to me, she goes, do you feel like your body is buried in the ground? I goes, yeah. And we had to literally just wake ourselves out of this state, look around the room, enough people are sleeping. Right? When you're doing these things, there's a method. You even got teas and all these kind of things that now they're bringing in. You have to be careful of all this veganism and all of this. There's nothing wrong with healthy eating, but be careful because now these people who practice, these Wiccans and all that practice these things, they're in the food industry. Yeah, there's some herbal teas done by, I think it's called Buddha teas or something like that. And you check out the company and they're all into this Hinduism. They're all into this stuff. Mindfulness. That's their thing. And I just think as Christians, believers, we have to be careful not to get involved in it. If it comes from a root of that, stay away from it, because it is there it creeps in like a fog. You know, it's all nice and, oh, it's for your health and it's for all of this, but there's no better health than the word. There's no better health than getting into the mountain with the Lord. And
yes.
Where our minds are concerned, where we're so tired, where we're so overworked and stressed, and the enemy is just roaring like a lion and he's just throwing punch after punch after punch, we can't afford to allow our minds to just be captivated. We have to put that helmet on, make sure it's on tight, that it's never taken off. Plead the blood over your mind and everything else, and emotions and any gateways that come in. You know, because when you think it's all good, it doesn't. There'll be something else. As you keep climbing, there'll be something else. Just got to be prepared.
Yeah, all of these things that we have mentioned are all gateways to open you up to demons. We've read the scripture before. What we're going to read, go into the third verse. We've only stayed in the second verse last time we read it. 1 Timothy 4:1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits. This is what these things are. Remember, it's seducing. This is not the devil coming in, which with a pitchfork and horns. This is a seducing thing. It's going to meet a need that you have, whether spiritual or carnal. Seducing spirits and doctrines of the devil, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Now, as you're pertaining to some of this veganism stuff and this herbalism, be careful of these herbalists, these people making soaps and oils. Not everybody is, we have some Christian people doing that, but be careful. If you don't understand these people's beliefs, don't just be buying soaps and oils from people. Listen to this. Forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. Forbidding to marry, commanding to abstain from meats. I'm happy to hear about healthier ways to eat, but the spirit behind a lot of this stuff is funny. When you have these people where they're like evangelical veganists, no. What is that about? It's not illegal for me to eat meat, biblically or any other way. So why are you so evangelical about it? Like, you just got to be careful. Everybody today is making their own candle, and yes, that's another thing. Be careful of people making candles. No, as Sister Cheryl said, a lot of this is just what is the root of it, and this is what this generation has no interest in doing. We have so much access to information, yet we're so disinterested and lazy in finding out where things come from because we're comfortable in a lot of the trash that we do and take on. We have to be careful.